Hi everyone, this is Eileen and you're listening to Side Note with D-Terence.
Do one thing every day that scares you. Eleanor Roosevelt. What's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Side Note with your boy D-Terence. Fear. We all have them, and in most cases, we have dealt with them. You see, one of the threats we face in our life is that of fear. It could be the fear of failure, the fear of the unknown, or even the fear of winning. These act as a blocker to our visual lens on life. And thus, it is important to not only be aware of your fears, but also to know how to use them to your advantage and a source of strength. A shift in your mindset will go a long way in helping you deal with this. In order to live a successful life, it is important to not only be aware of what you're afraid of, but to be in the right mind frame to not only face them, but thrive from them. Fear is a temporal thing, but regret is eternal. And so it is important to face your fears dead in the eyes and go through them in order for you to make it to the other side of where greatness awaits. In today's episode, we will go over a few pointers on how to address your fears and how to use them as a source of strength in your everyday life. Let's jump right in. Number 1. What are you afraid of exactly? It is my experience that the first step towards conquering your fear is to learn about the things that make you afraid. What exactly are you afraid of? It is the key to know what causes your anxiety, stress, negativity, or fear in life. There's nothing worse than just going with any emotions your mind thinks is right for you in a particular situation without analyzing where it comes from and what you can do about it. Understanding what you are afraid of and how it affects you will go a long way to help you deal with your fears more efficiently. Most times, we are afraid of things which, when we look at it closely, we are not worth or we're not supposed to be afraid of. They are just a figment of our imagination. See, one way you can learn about your fear is to write down all the things that terrify you in your everyday life. Once you do this, try and look at things from a different perspective. Challenge them. You will realize that some of them will turn out to be unreasonable, while others will be a result of negative factors in your life which you can remove with the right mindset. After writing the things you're afraid of, try and identify the cause of these fears. What experience did you face in your life that led to the birth of these fears? What were you doing exactly when a specific incident left you with a particular fear? You see, asking these questions will help you zone into what the cause of your fear is, and that's the first step towards understanding them. I used to be terrified of new beginnings, right from a very tender age. I love to keep things the way they were, and I will not change them. When I was 10 years old, I was sent to a boarding school, and this experience was bittersweet for me. On one hand, I enjoyed the camaraderie I had with my friends, but I hated the fact of being away from home. So every time I had to go back to school, I would cry my eyes out begging my folks not to let me go back. But once I got to school, I was happy to see my friends again. That was the fear of abandonment and being alone from my side. The same fear crept in when I got my first job for a mining company, which required me to live on-site. I was 22 years old and had never been in the middle of a mining site. The prospect of the new chapter terrified me. Was I going to be okay out there? Will I succeed? I don't know these people. And then the big one came, my move to the UK for my studies. This was by far one of the most challenging experiences of my life. New country, no friends or family, just me in the city of Liverpool and a dream to make it someday. Now, if you notice in all these examples, I went through with the task at hand. I did not ignore my fears. I acknowledged them. I wrote them down, mentally in my case, and I carried on. Some people freeze when they're faced with change or new beginnings. They are paralyzed by the unfamiliar territory they have to walk in. In my case, I always believed I was set on those paths for a reason and that it was my role to walk through them. The more you know about your fear, the less control they have over you. Number 2, monitor your fears. Once you have a better understanding of what your fear consists of, the next thing you want to do is to monitor it. When next a scenario occurs which triggers your fear, observe yourself and see how you react during that state of fear. What are your thoughts? Do you run away from the situation? Are you facing the issue at hand? And if so, what is the outcome looking like? Accept the fact that you are scared and do not fight it. Instead, monitor it. Ask yourself all these questions. See, what this does is it demystifies the perception you have of the fear and reminds you that it's all in your head. I noticed when I monitored myself during a state of fear, and I noticed that what happens when I'm faced with a new challenge is that my first instinct is to protect myself by addressing all the possible things that could go wrong if I took that new step. This was a self-sabotage technique designed to keep me in the presence of what was familiar and safe. I will find myself doubting the validity of the new opportunity and begin identifying why my current situation is so good and comfortable and is not in any need of a change. Experience has taught me to look beyond my initial self-defense reaction. In the past, I would give in and miss out on some great opportunities. By monitoring myself when I was faced with my fears, I was able to notice the real issue at hand and realize that these fears associated with these new beginnings were not really fears, but just a shield my subconscious mind puts up to protect me from the unknown. As an artist, I have so many fears when it comes to putting my content out to the world. A few years ago, I did not put any music content out due to fear. I was scared of laying myself bare for the world to judge. While observing myself each time I wrote a new song, I noticed the following. I will list some reason for the song not being ready for release and it needs more work, but then I never got around to finishing it. I will focus on all the limitations I had back then, such as not having a studio and not having enough money to pay for a studio session. Oh, and the best one, no one knows me and there is nothing special about my music. These were just a few of the defense mechanisms I would put up in order to avoid having my music criticized or of not being good enough. It was not until I started monitoring myself and asking questions and challenging this self-imposed belief that I got a better understanding of what my fear actually was. Monitoring is like taking a seat and watching yourself react to a scenario, taking notes, and revealing the reality behind the scenario you are reacting to. Practice this and gain a better understanding of yourself and whatever fear you may have. Number 3, face it. Once you know what your fear is and you have monitored how you react to it, understanding you're just mimicking a subconscious defense mechanism, the next thing you want to do is face your fear. Now, I'm not suggesting the fear factor type of facing your fear, at least not yet. Facing your fear could be in multiple forms. However, one thing that stays constant when you decide to face your fear is the ability to list out the worst case scenarios. I love this approach. What could be the worst thing that happens if I went through with this? Let's take the case of my fear of releasing music, which I had a while back. So, what happens if no one likes my music? Well, first off, it would hurt like hell. But I would not be dead now, would I? I will carry on working on my craft and use the feedback I get from those who did not like the music and improve, right? Okay, what else? I'll never make it in music. Okay, and if that were to be true, what next? What was the reason for me starting music in the first place? It was because it was a passion. And would I stop doing my passion, that which makes me happy, simply because I don't think I will make it? Of course not. The answer is simply no. You see, these were the conversations I would have with myself, breaking down the walls of my mind. In order for me to put my first song out there and accept whatever the world had to say about it, I spent a lot of time basically listing all the worst case scenarios and challenging them. I remember my very first time performing or having people listen to my song. I was in my second year of undergraduate studies and I had reluctantly registered for an open mic event. The event was held in the amphitheater 750, so the hall had over 750 people that night. Safe to say I was petrified. My knees wouldn't stop shaking. My palms were all sweaty. I feel like Eminem now. I was the fifth act and everyone before me seemed to be doing just right, like they have been practicing this their whole life. Then my time came. I remember walking upstage to the applause of a few friends who were showing support. The beat dropped and I just said to myself, you know what? Screw it. And that was it. I let go of all the worries. I just picked up a spot at the back of the hall and I sang and rapped my heart out. Next thing I remember was everyone cheering and the presenter shaking my hand. And just like that, it was over. And I did it. I did not die. My fear of performing my music and letting others listen to my songs was conquered. They loved it. They actually did. On that day, I uploaded my very first song titled Do Your Thing on SoundCloud. And today, my songs are on all streaming platforms. I have done over 12 performances in multiple countries, and I'm loving living my passion. Facing your fear can be tough, but the aftermath is a sense of calm and satisfaction of this new set of possibilities you did not know reside in you. Face the fear. Number 4, flip it on its head. The final step once you have faced your fear is to flip the fear on its head. Use this fear as a source of strength. You just proved to yourself that you can do something that you never thought was possible. You overcame a massive hurdle. Try to use this experience as a reminder that you can do anything and nothing is too challenging or too scary to achieve. Based on my experience with my music career, I now no longer fear trying new things, like this podcast, for example. The old me would not have even ventured in this avenue. I mean, speaking my mind for the world to listen? Yeah, right. But due to the fact that I was able to face my fears in the past and putting myself out there, I now know it's not that bad. And what is the worst that can happen, right? Isn't it a great feeling of achievement when you know you face your fear and conquer it? So there you have it, guys. These are the 4 steps to face your fear and use them as a source of strength. To recap, here are the points again. Number 1, understand what exactly you are afraid of. Number 2, monitor yourself when your fear is triggered to see how you react. Number 3, face your fear. And finally, number 4, flip it on its head. Use your fear as a source of strength moving forward. One thing that can impede your journey to a successful life is fear, as the road will be filled with a lot of uncertainty and challenges. So take some time to work on your fears and go out there and kick ass. Be sure to share this episode with your friends and loved ones. And until next time, I have been your host, D-Terence. Stay blessed.